Hi, in this video, we're going to go through the topic of time value of money and discounting. So if you're just starting to learn finance, these topics will very likely to be in your first lecture. So it's very important to know the concepts and calculations by heart because they will provide the basics for our future topics. Okay, so why do we do discounting? It's basically saying £1 today is worth more than £1 tomorrow. So, for example, if you promise me to give me £1 billion right now, today, I'll be more than happy to take it. But if you promise me the same amount, which is 1 billion in, for example, 200 years in the future, that probably doesn't mean anything to me right now. Yeah, so it's a very extreme example, but you get the idea. So any cash flow or any income that happens in the future is worth less and must be discounted in present terms. Okay, we will illustrate this with a simple numerical example. So whenever we're doing discounting problems like this one, it is always recommended to draw a clearly labeled time axis and label the timestamps here. So in this case, we're using t equals 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as years. Okay, so at t equals 0, it means current times or right now or the present. Okay, suppose I have £10,000 and I can save it in a bank at a compound interest rate at 10%. So unless otherwise specified, we're always going to use compound interest rate rather than simple interest rate. So if it's simple interest rate, we're only to earn interest on the principal. So for example, in this case, if it's simple interest, then the interest for each period will be simply £1,000. Okay, but that's not the case with compound interest. Okay, we'll show this. So if I save it for 1 year, so in 1 year's time, what do I have? I have 10,000 times 1 plus 10%, which gives me £11,000. Okay, so what if I save it for another year, to year 2, then I have 11,000 times 1 plus 10%, which gives me £12,100. Okay, so we're earning interest on the previous interest that we have earned. Okay, so that's compound interest. We can also start from year 0 to year 2 by simply writing 10,000 times 1 plus 10% to the power of 2, which gives us 12,100, which is the same result. Okay, so we're assuming we're getting the same interest rate, the constant interest rate throughout the years. Okay, so if I save it for another year, to year 3, or other 2 years, to year 4, to year 5, it's going to be very similar in calculations, and you get the idea. Okay, what we have done here is to calculate the future value. Okay, so we have some money or some cash flow at time 0, which is right now, and we're trying to calculate what is it worth in the future. So we're calculating the future value. Okay, so what happens if we have an income or a cash flow in the future rather than t equals 0? So we have to discount it back to the present times and get a present value. Okay, we'll use another example here. So for example, we're going to change the constant discount rate to, let's say, 8%. Okay, suppose I'm going to receive, well, let's say £5,000 in 1 year's time. What is it worth in present terms? Or what is the present value of that £5,000 in 1 year's time at a discount rate of 8%? How do we calculate that? We simply use 5,000 divided by 1 plus 8%. Okay, so 5,000 divided by 1.08 is 4,629.63. Okay, that'll be pounds. Okay, so this is basically saying £5,000 in 1 year's time at a discount rate of 8% is worth 4629.63 pounds today. Okay, so what if I receive, let's say, £6,000 in 3 years' time, and the discount rate is the same? So I simply have to use 6,000 divided by 1 plus 8% to the power of 3. Okay, so on your calculator, you can simply calculate 6,000 divided by 1.08 to the power of 3, which gives me 4762.99 pounds. Okay, so basically I'm saying this amount of money in the future is worth 4,762.99 pounds at the present. Okay, so we have the present value of any future income. Okay, so we can generalize this into any cash flow in the future or at time t is worth 1 plus some appropriate discount rate to the power of t. Okay, so which appropriate discount rate are we going to use is going to be given, and in the future we're going to be able to determine what discount rate are we going to use. Okay, but for now, most likely you'll be given an appropriate discount rate. Okay, so what if I have different discount rates for different periods, and I have multiple cash flows in the future? Okay, so for example, I have R1, which is the 1 year interest rate is 2%, R2 is 3%, R3 is 5%. Okay, and I have varying or different cash flows at different time periods. Okay, so for example, at time t equals 1, then I have, well, £1,000 as an income, and at time 2, I have 2,500 as an income, and at time 3, I have, let's say, £3,000. Now, I have a stream of cash flow, right? So what does this stream of cash flow mean to me at present times? So we're trying to calculate the present value of this stream of cash flow. How do we do that? We only have to simply sum up all the present value from each individual cash flow, but with the appropriate discount rate. Okay, for the first cash flow, you have 1,000, and the appropriate discount rate is, for 1 year, it's 2%, so 1 plus 2%. Okay, for the second year, I have 2,500, and divided by 1 plus 3% to the power of 2. Okay, and for the last cash flow, which is 3,000, I have 1 plus 5% to the power of 3. And I only have to sum them up to give me the present value of this whole income stream. And knowing this calculation, you should be able to calculate different cash flows at different discount rates at any given point in time.